Stop that immediately." Richard Blackwood's voice boomed through the marble-lined living room, sharp and cold like a thunderclap. He stood at the doorway, fists clenched, his face twisted in anger at the sight before him. His 8-year-old daughter Sophia sat in her wheelchair in the center of the room, smiling for the first time in 6 months. Across from her, moving with careful grace, was Andre Silva, the driver Richard had hired just 3 weeks ago. A gentle Brazilian rhythm played from Andre's phone as he held Sophia's hand and slowly spun her in her chair, letting her clap along to the beat. It was innocent. It was tender. It was the happiest Richard had seen his daughter since the accident, and yet, his first reaction was rage. "What the hell do you think you're doing with my daughter?" Richard barked, striding forward. Andre instantly let go of Sophia's hand. Her smile crumbled into confusion, then fear. "Mr. Blackwood, I can explain," Andre said calmly, raising his hands in peace. "Explain?" Richard snapped. "You were hired to drive, not to do this." He gestured at the phone, still playing music. "Turn it off." Andre paused the music. The room fell into a suffocating silence. "Daddy, please," Sophia whispered. "He was teaching me to dance like the other kids." "You can't dance," Richard blurted, the words spilling before he could stop them. "You're in a wheelchair, Sophia. The sooner you accept that, the better." Her eyes welled with tears. Andre's jaw tightened, but there was no anger in his expression. "Only a deep, quiet understanding, Mr. Blackwood," Andre said. Softly, "May I speak to you privately?" "There's nothing to discuss," Richard cut him off. "Get your things. You're fired." Andre nodded, but before leaving, he knelt beside Sophia. "Remember what we talked about with butterflies, little one. Some fly differently, but they still fly." Richard didn't expect the man to leave so calmly. No protests, no desperation. Just a strange serenity. It bothered him. 3 days later, the Blackwood mansion was quiet again. Too quiet. Sophia refused to eat, wouldn't leave her room, and cried every time she heard a car in the driveway. Physical therapists reported. She wouldn't participate in any activity. "Why isn't Andre coming back?" she asked for the 10th time that morning. "He wasn't right for the job," Richard said stiffly, adjusting his tie for a meeting. "He understood me," she whispered. Across town, Andre sat in his small apartment, typing fluently in English, French, and Portuguese on a laptop that didn't belong in such a modest place. His phone rang. Dr. Silva. The voice on the other end spoke in French. "Will you confirm your lecture on neuroplasticity next week?" "I'll need to postpone," Andre replied. His eyes lingered on a photo of Sophia from one of their dance sessions. Had Richard bothered to investigate, he would have learned the driver he fired held a PhD in neuroscience from the Sorbonne, specializing in music and movement therapy for children with neurological trauma. He would have discovered Andre had treated Sophia's own mother, Elena, years earlier. Richard only learned this after his assistant, James, came into his office looking uneasy. "Sir, about the driver. I did some digging. He speaks 4 languages. Has worked in European hospitals with special needs children. And," James hesitated, "he treated your wife in Paris 6 years ago." Richard's stomach dropped. That night, unable to sleep, he found a leather folder Andre had left behind. Inside, detailed therapy plans, music-based rehabilitation exercises, and medical notes labeled with Sophia's initials. At the bottom was a faded photo. Andre in a white coat beside Elena in a hospital bed, both smiling. On the back, Dr. Andre Silva, pediatric neurological trauma specialist. Treatment of Elena Blackwood. Richard's hand shook. Andre hadn't just known his wife, he'd been chosen by her. The next morning, Richard ordered a full private investigation. The report shattered him. Andre had lost his own 5-year-old daughter, Luna, in a car accident eerily similar to the one that paralyzed Sophia. After her death, he left traditional medicine, developing unconventional therapies for traumatized children, therapies that had worked when nothing else did. One line stopped. Richard called, "My goal is to find children like Luna and give them a second chance to smile." When Richard called, Andre answered calmly, "Why didn't you tell me who you were?" Richard demanded, "Because men like you don't hire ex-doctors to drive cars," Andre said simply. "And Sophia needed me close without your pride getting in the way." Then came the final blow. Elena came to me before the accident. She knew there was a genetic risk for neurological trauma. She made me promise that if Sophia ever needed me, I would help, even if it meant lying to get close. Richard pulled up his late wife's will. Buried on page 17, in a section he dismissed years ago, were her exact words. "In the event of paralysis, contact Dr. Andre Silva. His methods may seem unorthodox, but they work where traditional medicine fails." By the time Richard drove to Andre's apartment, the truth was undeniable. "You lied to me," he accused. "No," Andre replied. "I kept a promise your wife asked me to make." Before they could continue, a panicked call came from home. "Mr. Blackwood, Sophia is out of bed, trying to walk on her own. She says she won't stop until Andre comes back." When they arrived, Sophia was in the hallway, leaning on her wheelchair, taking small, shaky steps. "I had to show Andre I didn't give up," she said through tears. Andre knelt in front of her. "You never had to prove anything, little butterfly." Richard swallowed his pride. "Andre, I was wrong. I judged you by the wrong things. Please, come back. Not as a driver. As my daughter's doctor. As the man who made her smile again." Andre smiled. "Only if you promise me one thing, the next time I teach her to dance, you'll dance with us. Because she needs her father, too." 2 years later, the Blackwood mansion was no longer a cold monument to wealth. It was alive with music and laughter. The Different Butterflies Project, co-founded by Richard and Andre, now served hundreds of children with disabilities. Sophia, walking with crutches, danced proudly at the first graduation ceremony. "Being different doesn't mean you're less special," she told the crowd. "It means you fly in your own way." Richard looked at Andre, now the brother he never knew he needed, and finally understood. "I almost destroyed my daughter's happiness because of my prejudice," he would later say in an interview. "But when I finally saw Andre for who he truly was, I didn't just save her, I saved myself." And in that house, once filled with silence, a family learned that the strongest medicine is love, and it knows no color, no status, and no limits. And when they finally noticed you, when the very people who had dismissed you for years suddenly looked over their shoulders and realized the ground beneath them had shifted. It wasn't because you begged to be seen. It was because your work, your truth, your resilience had become too loud to ignore. They had built their walls high, thinking you could never climb. But you didn't climb. You built your own ground. You raised it inch by inch until the wall was nothing more than a knee-high step. And that's what frightens them the most, that you didn't need their permission to become great. They whispered to each other in boardrooms. How did this happen? Who helped them? What's their angle? Because in their world, power is only gained through favors, bribes, or betrayal. But in your world, power is built through truth, persistence, and unshakable self-worth. They will try one more time to pull you back into the shadows, not because they hate you, but because your light reminds them of their darkness. And some people would rather kill the lamp than clean the room. But you won't dim. Not now. Not after the nights You cried yourself to sleep wondering if this fight was worth it. Not after the chen da fought for thee. Mornings you rose before the sun to work twice as hard for half the recognition. Not after every no you turned into a watch me. So walk in. Sit at the table they said wasn't for you. Speak in the voice. They told you to lower. Stand in the spaces they swore you'd never reach. Because your very presence is proof that their system is cracking. And let them feel uncomfortable. Let them shift in their seats. Let them wonder how long until people like you outnumber people like them. Because the truth? That day is coming. And when it does, the world won't be run by the ones who guarded the gates, but by the ones who built new doors.